And welcome back to iProperty Radio live at the National Construction Summit 2025 here in Blanchardstown. Next joining me today is Niamh O Dea of Egis. You're the marketing and communications manager, but for people who aren't familiar with Egis, even though it is a multinational operation, tell us a little bit about the company.
Certainly, thank you, Carol. Egis has been operating in Ireland for 30 years, but we're part of a multinational operation, as you say. We're present in about 100 countries with about 20,000 staff. In Ireland, our history is as Egis is in operations. In other words, we have the contract to operate parts of Irish infrastructure. I'm talking about motorways, the Dublin Tunnel, the Jack Lynch Tunnel, the National Motorway Traffic Control Centre. So that was our history in Ireland as operators of infrastructure, working for the state and on behalf of the users and the taxpayer who own these assets. More recently, we have broadened our reach into engineering in Ireland with the acquisition of a firm called JB Barry, which we acquired in 2023 and rebranded as Egis last year in 2024. So that brings into our operation in Ireland the whole span then from upstream engineering design of these projects through planning, through construction supervision, to then operating as when they're handed over to be operated.
Your team are working on some of the generationally transformative projects right now. So kind of take us through some of the big, very well-known projects that are making headlines at the moment, not always for the reasons we want them to be.
Certainly. Well, I suppose starting with the engineering and consultancy side of the business, our team is very strong in water and wastewater. In fact, we're really proud that the Irish Egis team leads the group internationally in terms of our deep expertise and specialism. So our team has been responsible, for example, behind the upgrade, the multi-project upgrade of the Ringsend wastewater treatment plant. That project has spanned 10 years, maybe 500 million worth of investment by Irish Water for a treatment plant that actually is capable of handling wastewater for a population equivalent of 2.4 million. So it's almost half the needs of half the country. Then we're also active in transportation, in designing multimodal transportation. One project you might be familiar with is the Luas. It's been extended to Finglas.
Yes.
We did the preliminary designs, who've just gone through or going through statutory public consultation as part of the planning for the railway order, which is the equivalent of planning for Luas. And we're actually the designers behind Dublin's first Luas back over 20 years ago.
So there's a long history in Ireland.
Yes, but perhaps only recently kind of assertively branded as Egis. So proud to do that. We're a French company in origin.
The first thing that occurs to me is that having the project expertise and perspective over 100 countries, where would Ireland rank, or is that an unfair question to ask, in terms of how we're delivering infrastructure? Because obviously the perception in Ireland is that it is slow, burdensome, overly regulated. So actually for an international company that is doing this across 100 different countries, what's the perception?
Well, Ireland is a priority country for our group. So we recognise, and the group has invested substantially in Ireland and continues to invest. So we recognise the potential in the market. We see, the group sees that in Ireland you have a country with the ambition and the means and the political will to develop infrastructure. So
all that's
right across the built environment.
Is the money.
And the means. The means are available in the country, the budget is there. So in terms, when you refer to, yes, it's true, so we see some of our projects getting slowed down in planning, but we share the ambition of the legislators and the planning authorities to rejuvenate that system. Things like the Planning Act this year, it is hoped, will bring some smoother passage for important projects of national strategic importance through the planning system. We support our clients through that process, of course, then, as I say, supporting with assets and so on that are needed for public consultation. We'd never argue for the removal of public consultation. That's an important part of the three pillars in any planning process. It's about how you handle that, I think, how early you consult with stakeholders, how you recognize that, of course, this is a dialogue, as somebody just said at a panel I just attended, which is fantastic, about planning and stakeholder management. It was actually the speaker from Ishgare pointed out, nobody knows a neighborhood like its communities.
Yeah.
So stakeholder engagement is two-way. So, we benefit as designers from the insights that come there. But it's about giving fair and proportionate, I suppose, weight to different stakeholders and their voice and their opinions.
It is one of the grounding principles of placemaking that that the community knows best. So they want that expertise in terms of maybe design, technical design aspects and flood management and other side, but actually in terms of how we use space, irrespective of how they're designed or what they're intended for, but how the community uses space. The community are absolutely the experts in their place. But what's interesting is that I see it time and time again on projects that there is an approach that somehow people are a problem to be solved.
Yes.
And they're never seen as the willing and ready resource there to be leveraged. And they want to be leveraged. They want that expertise to feed into the place that's being created. So I think there's still a disconnect. It's just a procedure or just see the public consultation and community engagement is being done in a much more meaningful way.
Yes, I agree, and I think it may be a bit of procedure, a bit of trust both. We had a project recently where you can see where it very successfully captured the voice of the assenting majority. The project referred to is living
as opposed
streets
to the silent minority,
or
the loud minority,
yeah,
the loud
which
minority.
is the perception.
Yeah.
But Living Streets is a project in Duluth which is seeking to rejuvenate the town centre. There's a pedestrianisation of 200 metres of the main street and some traffic reflowing around that. We're doing the traffic planning side of that project.
Yes.
The public consultation process resulted in an unprecedented level of submissions to the council, about 7,000 submissions.
Amazing.
I believe the majority were in favour. Certainly the council's vote was massively in favour. There were protests in favour, not protests, there were marches in favour of this project. Now, that was because I think largely in part, some credit has to be given to the extensive consultation, the assets, the communications, the videos, the information given broadly to the community, which allowed fair and deep level of information to be, an accurate level of information to be shared. Exactly.
So you're not just talking at the community, you're listening to the community. And I think that's the essential one. Niamh, I'd love to pick up this conversation with you another day because public consultation and community engagement, I think, is at a really critical point in Ireland. I think the rise of technology, the impact of social media can be actually very good, but potentially very damaging. And again, like all tools, how we use it. So we might have a conversation here at the National Construction Summit. Before you head out and make your way around the 200 plus exhibitor stands and across all of the stages, what are the highlights you're looking forward to today?
I'm looking forward to seeing the new Minister for Housing speak. He's coming at 1:00 to understand as we support. We all understand that the target would have to be met and the infrastructure that's necessary to meet those targets. And to hearing Sean Sweeney, our new Programme Director for Metrolink, which is a project we hope to participate in naturally. Again, pivotal national importance.
Well, I don't mind telling you that the iProperty Radio studio will be closed during both of those sessions because, like you, I am all eager to hear what our new Housing Minister has to say. And Sean Sweeney delivered a super presentation at the European Infrastructure Summit there in November. He was so compelling, so straight. He spoke directly to some of the concerns that the industry has. And actually, I think he had some really wise words that our new government, albeit familiar, our new government in their critical first 100 days could really benefit from listening. So I hope that our new Housing Minister is going to have plenty to say, but I'm also hoping he'll stick around and listen to what Sean Sweeney has to say too. So, Niamh, thank you so much. It was lovely to meet you. We'll pick up the conversation around public consultation and community